This is not Bob Staunton, genius broadcaster and throat-clearing phlegm spitter. Are you intelligent? If not, then subscribe and like the Tommy Boyds Shrine YouTube channel. The following show is about electricity. Quite shocking, actually. Plenty of sparks, too. How many Schrodinger's cats does it take to change a light bulb? Depends if anyone's there to see it. From the gallery of life.
There is no escaping here.
Tommy Boyds.
Morning. What I am going to tell you is going to frighten you a little bit. I could tell it so that it would frighten you a lot, but I'm not an alarmist, unlike some journalists. But never mind. Free call 0500 10 53 89 is the telephone number. But you really do need to get your head around something pretty big before you call with your reaction, or maybe your contribution to the evidence, the information, which is pretty thin on the ground, but this is a serious case of 2 + 2 = 4. This is a serious case of, if it looks like a dog, and it sounds like a dog, and it lives in a kennel, it's a dog. That number again is free call 0500 10 53 89. You don't need to be an expert in the technology that we're talking about to have a view on this one. You are alive and you live in the latter part of the 20th century, and that experience alone will be enough for you to have an instinctive opinion, for you to be able to guess, well, just how much there is in what I'm about to spread before you. It started 3 days ago with a harmless conversation between myself and my eldest son. He'd been talking to some friends, and they'd had a guessing game in the back of a car going to the swimming baths, and the question had been, what's the best invention ever? And my son asked me what I thought was the best invention ever. And he told me that he thought the best invention ever was electricity. And that went in one ear, but as is the case, it stayed there, and it went round and round. And I found myself going back to the first pronouncement ever made on the electric light when it was first invented. The light bulb, artificial light, electric lighting, as opposed to gas lamps or candles, which was what had been employed previously. The doctors who saw it working for the first time said that it will drive us all mad. Mad. Free call 0500 10 53 89. It got me thinking that not so much the electric light, but that perhaps electricity itself might be responsible for more than one malaise which is facing humanity now as we look towards the new millennium, a time of, we hope, spiritual peace. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Does electricity cause madness? Does the preponderance of electrical fields, electrical current everywhere, electrical wires everywhere, machines driven by enormous amounts of electricity, the sheer quantity of electrical fields that are happening at the moment in your home, or, and we'll get onto this in just a second because this is really a fascinating correlation, in your car, in brackets road rage, that's where we're heading with this one, could be responsible for the last bout of the misery guts that you had. It could be responsible for the fact that from time to time this year you felt fed up for no apparent reason, or maybe haven't been quite yourself, or maybe haven't made the right decision on a couple of occasions, or have reacted not as you would like to have reacted to a situation. I'm not saying you're mad, although of course they say, don't they, that we'll each experience periods of mental difficulty on average 6 times during the course of a normal life. I'm sure it wasn't like that 100 years ago. Something's different. It's not the fluoride in the water, is it? It's not the media, is it? No. It's not genetic, is it? No. Pollution? I don't think so. Could it be all the electrical fields which we are building around and around and around ourselves? We are cocooned in a womb of electrical current in our own home and in our car, and I'll get onto that in just a second. Free call 0500 10 53 89. They said, didn't they, that the electric light would send us loopy? Well, were they right? Psychological problems in the 20th century are proliferating. They are proliferating. It's not just that we're discovering more conditions. It is that more of us are concerned about the way our brains and our emotions are functioning or not, as the case may be. And we are all too familiar nowadays with terms such as schizophrenia and paranoia We understand our own anxieties. We've heard all too much about CJD and other neurological presenile dementias and conditions such as Alzheimer's, the cause of which and the treatment of which remains an absolute mystery to those who have devoted their professional lives and sometimes their personal lives to caring for people with that condition. And there are obsessive disorders. There's ME, which we know is an illness, but it seems to be psychological or at least affect the mind and the emotions as well as the body. There's Munchausen's, there's Tourette's. The list is literally endless, and you can bet your bottom dollar that before this summer is out, the list will have been added to by several other conditions. Psychological problems are proliferating. Any argument? I don't think so. Neurological problems are appearing. New ones are arriving. Any argument? I don't think so. And look around your home now, the machines that you've got which are emanating an electrical field, the computers that you may have in your home, the computer games that your children may have, the number of televisions that you have in the home, the number of radios, the number of sound systems, the mobile phone setup, the kettle, which is electric now, and therefore emits an electrical field whenever you switch it on. Whenever you complete a circuit, an electrical field is created, and it influences other electrical fields with which it overlaps. And you, my friend, listening, you are an electrical field. This is the point, you see. Makes you think, doesn't it? The VCR in your home, which you didn't used to have. Maybe you've got several. And the hairdryer that you take to within 2 inches of your precious brain, and your electric shaver, and the camcorder that you stick right up against your eye, and the Walkman that goes on your ears, and the electric cookers, which we now use instead of coal, and electric fires, and electric immersion heaters to heat our water with, the central heating pump, the answer phone in your home, and then you go out into the garden, and these days you don't use a push-me-pull-you lawnmower. You plug it in, and you plug in your hedge trimmer, and you plug in your strimmer, and in the kitchen you plug in your food processor, where before we used a knife or a mortar and pestle, and your juicer and your coffee bean grinder, even your carving knife is electrical. And we're all going doolally. And I just wonder if there's a connection. Free call 0500 10 53 89. What do we know? We know that there's a new condition on the road. It's called road rage. What do we know? We know that cars 20, 30 years ago only had two electrical fields, a starter system and the headlights. That was it. Even the windscreen wipers were worked by air in most cars. But now, you get inside your car, and the minute you switch it on, you create one electrical field with the starter system, another electrical field if you've got fuel injection. Then there's the windscreen wipers, and the windscreen washers, and the headlight wipers, and the indicators, the fog lamps, the side windows, which are now electrical, the car phone which you've got, the central locking system, the burglar alarm, the back wiper, the audio system with its quad sounds, the seat position. Some people actually press a button to move their seat forward, the heaters, the demister, the fridge, the air conditioning system. And each of them creates an electrical field. And you are an electrical field. And electrical fields, when they coincide, disturb each other. We know that the brain works by employing electricity. That's why if you want to check someone's brain activity, you use an EEG, an electroencephalograph. It simply monitors the electrical current travelling around in the brain. Jerry Booth, I understand, has just bought herself a little gizmo. I don't know the truth or otherwise of it. It's been reported that she wears a little gizmo around her neck, the function of which may or may not be, but the manufacturer of one of these gizmos says that it will help combat the harmful effects of electrical fields. Free call 0500 10 53 89 is the number. Give me a call, but hold the receiver about 2 inches from your ear. And sit back from the radio. I'm Tommy Boyd. This is Talk Radio. There is a good argument for listening.
I have seen the future of radio. The Tommy Boyd Show. Ho, ho, ho.
I mean, would you buy a house underneath a pylon? No. So why do you build the equivalent of a pylon inside your own home? Free call 0500 10 53 89. Cameron calls from Dundee. Cameron, you are on Talk Radio. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you, Tommy. Neil, I think you're onto something here.
Aha.
I lived in a high-rise block of flats for 17 years, and there certainly seemed to be a very high incidence of suicide. But I've never seen any medical reports or anything on it, Tommy. And I was in the electrical and electronic game for 23 years. And if you know anything about the way in which power electrical power is distributed in the high-rise flat, there's some very, very intense electromagnetic fields which you wouldn't have associated in, say, a normal building. And further to this, Tommy, I'll keep this very brief. I've got a report here from the Radiological Study Group, which I've only received through the mail this week. And it says that, and I quote here, that there's no robust scientific evidence showing the health effects of low-frequency electromagnetic fields on man. But, Tommy, if you read between the lines, they haven't discounted the evidence. And that's what I'd like to say, but I definitely think you've got something.
Cameron, thank you for your call. Thank you for your support. Cameron himself worked with electricity, as did my dear father, who for 30 years was one of this country's better-known electronic engineers. Although the argument that his mental health declined during the last period of his work and has not yet been proven. But what is certain is that since he has retired and since he is now free from those heightened fields of electrical activity, which were part and parcel of his work, he is a more serene, more rational man, and he spends a lot of his time now out and about. Free call 0500 10 53 89. We're discussing the perils of electricity. James calls from Kettering. You're on Talk Radio, James.
Hiya, Tommy.
So,
just a quick one. There's a garage near where I live that's got about 20 cables, electrical cables, between two pylons going over it. And what you can hear from it sounds like torrential rain.
Yeah.
Sounds really, really, really bad.
You're on the motorway?
Kettering.
No, I was being sort of fictional. Well, one is on the motorway driving one's car.
Yeah.
And one has the radio on.
Yeah.
And one goes underneath pylon wires.
Yeah.
And what happens to the radio?
It crackles, doesn't it? You can hear it.
And that's a tiny little electrical field, which is a radio. Now, what about a huge electrical field, which is a human being?
Well, even mobile phones seem to give people headaches. I know when the phone's going to ring sometimes, because I get a feeling in my ear before it rings.
You're joking?
No.
You are kidding me.
No, I get a little tingling, and then the phone rings.
I believe you.
I thought I was psychic at first.
Yeah.
But somebody said it's because of the radio waves or whatever being transmitted that I'm just picking up something from it.
Well, the penetration is never ending, isn't it? Because we know that radio waves, once they escape into space, don't deteriorate at all.
Yeah.
Which means
that... Dangerous stuff, I think.
Which I always like, because it means that Thank you for your call, James. It means that somewhere, 1,000,000 years from now, if you call this programme and have your comments and thoughts converted into radio signals, 1,000,000 years from now, on a planet perhaps not yet cooled enough to sustain life, they'll hear you. They will. They will be able to hear you. They'll pick it up. It's a fascinating thought. It's incredible radio waves, really. I'm not talking about electricity now, just radio waves. They travel at the speed of light, which always confuses me a bit, because nobody knows what light is. And I'm not sure myself if I know what radio waves are, except that they're completely harmless, although they do cook pot noodles in the microwave, I believe. Free call 0500 10 53 89. I'm a scientist, but I'm not into electricity in a big way. Peter calls from Birmingham. You are on Talk Radio. Peter, good afternoon to you.
Oh, Tom, look,
Peter.
You wouldn't be in a job if it weren't for electricity, because nobody would have seen Magpie, so nobody would have heard of you.
I don't think you'll find that my career as a
well,
current...
no, but I mean...
Can I finish a sentence? Do you mind if I finish a sentence?
If they haven't got electricity,
do you mind if I finish a sentence?
To you?
Do you mind if I finish a sentence?
Well, you normally do.
Do you have a problem with that?
No, carry on.
I mean, is your attention span, that...
It's nearly as long as yours.
I can assure you, I can pay attention for longer than most people, certainly longer than you.
Carry on.
I can actually listen to somebody's conversation and hear what they're saying and then form a sentence which responds to what they've just said. That's conversation, hey.
I'm listening.
Ever heard of clockwork radios?
Yes, but not everybody's got one.
Well,
nor everybody has got a battery radio.
Well, I've got one, you see. You're not as clever as me, are you?
Yeah, but we're not all on your money. Some of us have to work for a living.
You can't spend 49 quid on a radio. What do you do?
What do I do? I'm an art exec.
Well, change your job. Get a decent one. Get a proper one.
Are there any vacancies at Talk Radio?
Have you got any ability?
Well, I've got skill. Talent.
No, I don't think you've got any talent.
Oh, lots.
Well, you're not shining with it at the moment.
No, well, I'm waiting for you to finish your conversation.
I have. Bye.
Oh, that was it? One more thing, Tommy.
No. Marisa calls from Leighton Buzzard. Marisa, you are on Talk Radio. Good afternoon.
Oh, hi. Hello, Tommy.
Hi.
This is Marissa.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm ringing you from work. I just had a customer in, but I'll carry on and say what I had to say. Just wanted to make my point that I think since I've been using the electric toothbrush, I'll be getting continuous headaches. It could be in my mind, but I think it might be connected.
Do you think it slowed you down mentally?
No, not slowed me down, but I think it's for some reason the electricity in it or whatever is overstimulated the muscles around my head.
Could it have any connection with the vibration, which often...
Yes, that's right. That's what I mean.
Oh, do you? Oh, well,
yes,
the vibration...
I think so. That's what I think.
But the effects of the effect of the vibration, which is a purely physical phenomena,
yes,
and the effect of the electrical field, which will be given out by the electric toothbrush, those are two entirely different sets of stimuli. You see my point?
So you don't think it's connected?
No, what you'll have to do is get something which vibrates, but which does not emit an electrical field, and use that for a control period, shall we say 5 days, on your gums. And if you still have the headache, then you know that it will be due to the vibration of the electrical toothbrush. If not, you'll have to find something which emits an electrical field, but which does not vibrate, and place that next to your gums.
Yes, okay. I see your point.
You see, that's the only way we can eliminate all the various things that you're doing to yourself with this electric toothbrush. Why don't you just use a normal one?
Oh, yeah, I've just started. I started again. I've just started to see whether it's what I think or not. It's just something that...
Well, we have to stay on the ball, you know, Marissa, because life is very complicated. What do you sell?
I've got a boutique, ladies' boutique.
A ladies' boutique?
I've got a customer in at the moment.
Really, does she look as though she's going to buy?
She's looking around. She's somebody I know anyway. She's a friend as well.
Well, lock the door and make her a cup of coffee. That's what they do when I go into a boutique.
Yes, I do that as well. Nice to talk to you.
So they have boutiques still in Leighton Buzzard. Doesn't that speak volumes? Free call 0500 10 53 89. I'm Tommy Boyd. We're discussing electricity. Does it cause madness? Talk Radio.
The Tommy Boyd Show.
Get real with the people on the dance floor.
Talk Radio.
Free call 0500 10 53 89.
Got an extremely interesting call from somebody who's about to tell us something that we don't know. I'm itching to hear what this person has to say. But first we talk to Elton in Reading. You're on Talk Radio. Elton, hello.
Tommy, you're talking rubbish again. I'm sure you have scientific evidence for all these airy-fairy suppositions. Electrical companies have had scientists studying and investigating these electromagnetic fields for over a century. And everything you've been saying is pure innuendo. Tommy, you're really an alarmist here. Even when you talked about car radios being able to pick up the interference, they're able to pick up absolutely tiny variations of radio waves, millions of a watt.
Yeah, this is what they said to Ralph, isn't it?
No, Tommy, if madness was...
This is what they told Ralph, isn't it? They said to Ralph Nader, they said, Ralph, you're an alarmist.
No, they didn't. I was over there at the time, Tommy, and that's not at all what they said to him.
They rubbished him. They called his acolytes Nader's Raiders.
No, Tommy, only people like you who weren't clear-thinking rubbished him. We clear-thinkers, we didn't rubbish him at all. If madness, if this whole thing was this simple, madness would be able to be cured very easily. It would be such a simple solution.
Precisely.
Sorry?
I said precisely.
Yes, but it isn't, is it? Because not only are scientists really studying the scientific electric waves, but also
where are they doing that,
therapists are studying mad people,
well,
and there's no connection.
Where are they doing that, then?
Sorry?
Where are they doing that, then?
Well, they've done it in the labs, and they're doing it in Russia. They're doing it in the United States. They're even doing it in Britain.
Oh, ye of colossal faith.
Well, no, Tommy. You actually were talking about it on Talk Radio just a week or two ago about the big studies in Russia on
into
these,
a religion, haven't you?
Sorry?
You have turned hope into a religion.
Not at all, Tommy. Not at all.
Here you come onto the radio on your knees, worshipping at the altar of the men in white coats.
No. I'm just not a fuzzy thinker like you.
Well,
Tom.
they're coming to take you away, Elton, because they're not scientists. They are reps from the funny farm, pal.
No, it's
Sir?
you who are the fuzzy thinker.
Do you
And
live
it's you who they'll come to take away.
Do you
Tom.
live near power lines, Elton?
You're just being such an alarmist. I mean, really, don't you think you should have a little more responsibility to your listeners?
Keep my wits about me, and I like to ask the questions which one day will be answered, but I like to be the first to ask the questions.
Now, some of your listeners aren't sophisticated as you are, Tom, and you're really going to alarm them, and they're going to run around turning off all their electricity, and this winter they'll freeze.
You are
they
the
won't
first
turn on their
caller
electric
I have
blanket.
ever taken on this show who is less sophisticated than I am.
I'd have to argue with that, Tom.
Yeah, but it wouldn't last long, would it, Elton? That's the way I
Well,
have it.
I'm not sure it would last long with you, but...
Okay. Are you listening to this show on a mains or a battery-driven radio?
Well, it certainly isn't a wind-up technology that you're thinking about.
The wind-up technology, pal, happens here.
Well, I think, yes, I would agree with that.
Oh,
definitely.
shut up. I'm giving you better jokes than you can do yourself. Now, listen to me.
Yes.
What sort of a radio are you listening to the show on?
Well, of course, I'm listening to it over the telephone.
Yes. Go on. You know what I mean.
Yes, it's an electric mains radio.
Okay. I'd like you to put the whole of your head up against the whole of your electric radio, okay, until 4 o'clock, and get back to me, okay, if it hasn't done you any harm.
Yeah, sure, and I'm sure you'd take my call, too, Tommy. We aren't all as daft as that.
I look forward to receiving it. Elton, thank you for your call. Free call 0500 1053 89. Fascinating idea, something that I find almost impossible to believe. I'm told by my team, forms the gist of a call we'll take in a moment after we've spoken to Abdul in London. Abdul, welcome to Talk Radio.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, what would we do with our electricity, Tommy?
What would we do without electricity?
Yeah.
Well, we'd do what we did before we had electricity, I suppose.
Well, isn't that how primitive that would be?
Hang on a second. Perhaps there could be safeguards that we could take to prevent electrical fields spilling out of our electrical equipment.
Well, I initially come from West Africa.
Yes.
And there's some parts there that don't have electricity.
Right.
In a way, it's probably good, but then again...
Okay.
There's a lot of things...
I'm very glad you called.
Yeah.
Because you're going to be able to prove my point for me. Okay. Here in the West, people suffer from an ever-proliferating list of emotional disorders. Psychological problems, neurological problems, damage to the brain, damage to our emotions and our thought patterns, schizophrenia, Alzheimer's, Tourette's, obsessive-compulsive disorders, anxieties. You're with me?
Yeah. Well, let me get this to you then.
I haven't asked the question yet.
Okay.
The question is, do they in Nigeria, where they haven't got electricity?
I'm not sure. Well, the media's not as vast as it is over there.
No, but you've been there, haven't you? Come on.
I've been there. I've lived there, but
yeah. Well, is everybody going loopy? Is everybody going?
If we do stay at home and nobody's actually telling us what's happening outside, we wouldn't know about it, would we?
You've been around electricity too long, Abdul. Your mind is already a bit jellified. Listen, concentrate on the question. Concentrate on the question. Do as many people in parts of the world where they don't have loads of electricity?
I wouldn't know.
Suffer from emotional disorders?
I honestly wouldn't know.
That's a no, isn't it?
But it's like when what started off electricity? Maybe it was a light bulb or something.
What?
What started off electricity? What started off electricity?
What do you mean, what started off electricity?
Why did we start using electricity?
Look. People go to school at about 11 and learn things like this. What are you ringing up a national radio program and asking me?
Okay, I'm asking you a question. Why do we use
it's a test. Okay. Right. Okay, go on then.
What started off electricity?
What started off electricity? It's not a very good question because I don't really know how to answer it.
What did we actually start using electricity for?
What was the first use to which electricity was put?
Yeah.
Is that your question?
Yes.
Glad to have worded it for you. Mind you, I don't suppose English is your first language, is it?
It's not my first language.
What is your first language?
Yoruba.
Really?
Yeah.
How would your question sound in your language? No, seriously, I'm interested.
I don't know what electricity is in my first language.
There you are, you see? There you are.
It's not. That's what I'm saying. It's not an African thing. It's a Western thing. And what would we do with our electricity? We've gone too far with it. For us to go back is just too primitive.
What do we hold most dear? Being able to microwave a pot noodle or being able to think straight?
What would you do about your electric light?
Well, possibly think straight.
About electric light, what would you do about the light bulb?
Go to bed when it's dark. That's what you're supposed to do.
What would you do if you can't heat up your water?
Well, you use fires for that or gas.
How primitive, how far back you're going.
Look, people
This is what they do. They do this in part of Nigeria.
And people in this country spend an awful lot of money to get away from it all and live under canvas exactly like that. So it's not so bad, is it?
What about you? Do you have electricity in your house? In your home?
Yes.
You use it constantly?
No, not constantly. No, I go around switching things. One of my hobbies in my house, I'm told, is switching things off. Yeah.
How'd you take your bath in the morning? Hot, cold water?
Yeah, I mean, Abdul, I think we've got the point that electricity does have its uses.
Yeah.
But like anything that has its uses, Abdul, it can also be responsible for abuses, you see.
True.
That's the complexity of modern living. A scale which we are weighing this afternoon in the dock, electricity. Thank you for your call.
Okay.
Very nice to talk to you.
Okay.
Padraig is our next caller. In Belfast, you are on Talk Radio. Padraig.
Hello, Tommy.
Sir.
I was once an electrical apprentice 2 years ago. I'd done it for a year. And not only is electric mentally unstable, but physically, I got about 10 shocks inside my first 6 weeks. It's just extremely dangerous. Whenever I've given it up, but over in England, you have those cards you put into the meter, if your electric runs out, the card and it turns the electric back on.
And are you a little bit unstable now as a result of this abuse?
Just a little.
A little?
But I've given it up about a year ago. But still today, if the electric ever goes off during the night, like the card runs out, I wake up at about 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. For some reason, every time this happens, it happens about once a week, usually, where I would just wake up and know the electric is off.
Free call 0500 1053 89. The thing about having your mental processes imbalanced or thrown out of kilter is that you are unable to notice it happening. Because it seems as though one's powers of assessing one's own mental performance adjust accordingly, so that whatever we do appears, and however we perceive the world, appears to be the same reality that we saw yesterday, and the same reality that we saw 20 years ago, when there weren't so many electrical fields. But we know something is happening, because there's more road rage, where we have more cars playing home to so many more electrical fields. We know that there are more psychological disorders appearing and proliferating, and there are many, many more electrical devices than there were before. Free call 0500 1053 89. And I'm sure you've noticed, as I have, that today's young people who have spent their lives influenced by electrical fields everywhere they go seem to me to be very lethargic. Don't they, you? Don't they seem to be rather heavy-lidded and heavy-limbed? If they're serving you anyway, don't they seem to move extremely slowly and not really have the energy to make any kind of contact with you? Now, it seems to me to be a broad trend, and it's the evidence that I have with my own eyes, anecdotal, though that's often dismissed as being. But I'm sure you've seen it too. And there has to be a reason for that. And I feel it runs deeper than to merely say it's cultural. And could it be that all this increased electrical activity that we have in the modern world is sending us more mature people into the depths of some psychological disorders and perhaps draining the energy of the young? Yeah. Now, John calls from Bristol, and John, we've stacked your call because what you have to tell us is quite shocking. Thank you for calling.
Okay. Is that it?
Yeah, away you go. Tell us. Tell your story.
All right, sorry, okay. Yeah, I was reading something that just came to my head when you mentioned that, when your radio transmission goes out one day on a planet somewhere, somebody will pick it up. These people who sit in sheds with all the radio transmitters on an evening listening to, various transmissions all around the world, whatever else. I was reading that they can actually pick up radio messages sent by forces during the Second World War and indeed the Vietnam War. That these signals are still bouncing around the world and can be picked up by some of these radio buffs.
Incredible, isn't it? Unbelievable.
At nighttime.
They've been bouncing around from the stratosphere back to the sea, back to the stratosphere, back to the land, at incalculable speeds, but haven't managed to escape the atmosphere yet.
Yeah, and people can still pick these messages up.
Isn't that fantastic?
Absolutely amazing.
It's fantastic, isn't it?
I don't know anything more about it, but just what I read, I know that you could get some radio buff on there if you asked to maybe tell you more about it.
You know radio waves, then?
Yeah.
Do they have substance?
I don't know enough about them.
Does it seem to you that they have substance? If they don't have substance, what are they?
Well, there's no... No, I wouldn't say it had substance because it's not a matter. It's a sound wave, isn't it?
You see, if they had a substance, then because of Newton's law of, second law of motion, which is that for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction, if a radio transmitter were to send all its signals out in one direction, then in due course of time, it would begin to bend back the other way, the mast, wouldn't it? Do you see my point?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Interesting, isn't it? And maybe you could even power a rocket in space by blasting radio waves out of the back.
Well, it's probably maybe something that hasn't yet been harnessed.
By blasting a radio program out of the back of the machine. It's conceivable. If radio waves have substance and weight.
You could probably use your angry hour, get enough hot air there, wouldn't you?
Well, yes, thank you for your call. But if they have weight and substance, then what are we doing standing next to radio transmitters? The question has been asked before. I once worked at a radio station where the managing director, at a board meeting, suggested that we looked into the possibility of taking out insurance. Should any people who lived near our transmitter ever say that it was affecting them and making them go a bit doolally. But then the joke was that they were more likely to go doolally if they listened to the signals when they came out of the radio than when they came out of the transmitter. So they never got round to it. Just mention it. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Mark calls from North London. You are on Talk Radio. Mark, hello.
Hello, Tommy.
Mark.
Yeah, electric shock therapy. I don't know if they still use it, but I know they used to use it. The medical establishment.
Yes.
And that's not the opposite of what you're saying. That's if the treatment actually worked. And did it work?
The jury's out.
Right.
The machinery is still in a cupboard somewhere in most places.
Right.
It does produce results.
So you're suggesting that all these waves around us could be causing madness and making people go sluggish and slow and illnesses and allergies or whatever.
Yes.
So there could be some proof that it actually helps people, shocks people somehow.
Well, first of all, it tends only to be used as a last resort in extreme cases. Now, you're not an extreme case, for example, are you?
No.
No. And nothing has yet been tried to reduce the level of insanity that you're enjoying.
Right.
So we haven't got round to a last resort yet.
Right.
But there are two types of shock therapy. One which, the best way of putting it is it acts as a kind of an overall anesthetic and reduces frantic mental activity.
Right.
Pretty much by numbing the brain. It's kind of like a massive, short-lived lobotomy.
Right, so there is a case for it then?
There is a case for it.
For extreme mental patients?
No, it's painful, you see. That's why people don't like to use it.
Right.
And there's also an element of aversion to pain in the therapy, in that patients can benefit from being subjected to this shock therapy because they quite simply and understandably become frightened of repeating the behaviour which led to the treatment.
Oh, right, yeah, I understand, yeah. Right, well, that's all I wanted to say, really.
And so there's a moral argument which rages on.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to catch you out or anything. I was just trying to...
People nowadays much prefer soft drugs like Prozac.
Right, yeah, all right.
I mean, I've seen Prozac in action, and it's a Lulu. It's a Lulu. It's that good.
I'll stick to my pint.
Yeah, me too. Oh, me too. Oh, I've said before, and I'll say it again. I would like to spend the whole of my life as though I just finished my third pint.
Yeah, Friday night.
Marvellous.
First pint of the week.
Oh.
Lovely. All right, Tommy. I better get back to work.
What do you do?
Painter and decorator.
Are you?
Yeah.
What do you work?
I'm in someone's house in Finchley. I'm just doing their toilet now, stripping it down.
Right.
Lucky it's a free call, eh?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, then.
Good-o.
Bye now.
Glad you called. The number is free call, 0500 10 53 89, and it's your call, but we pay.
Tommy Boyd Show. 1053, 1089 AM. Talk Radio.
We're asking this question. Could it be that electricity and the electrical fields which are created whenever a circuit is completed, i.e. an electrical machine in your home or in your car or in your surrounds is engaged, may have some bearing on the increase in the psychological problems which seem to be proliferating in modern Britain and indeed in the Western world? Free call 0500 10 53 89. We welcome Rob to the discussion. He calls from Crewe.
Hello, Tommy.
Rob, welcome to Talk Radio.
Hello. I'm just ringing to say, where's your evidence?
Oh, I don't have to have any.
Why not? Why
Because-
not be like everyone else and get evidence before your point's put across?
Ah, because I'm not putting a point across. I'm asking a question. Important difference.
I can see why you believe it.
You see, I can ask the question, was Jesus Christ a weather forecaster on television in Nazareth in AD 28? I've got no evidence to suggest that he was, but I can ask the question. Now, if I said he was, then you could ring me up and ask what evidence I have. Are you with me?
Yeah, can you just give me your points on why you think it sends you to do lally in your words?
Yes. Because there seem to be... well, go through your home, starting in your bedroom, Rob.
Yeah.
How many electrical fields are created in your bedroom?
I've got a computer, a stereo, a light, and another light, and that's it.
That's 4.
Yeah, but why? What's your point on sending me do lally?
Because there are in fact 5 in your bedroom. You've missed one out.
Go on then.
No, you guess. Turn your radio off.
Pardon?
Turn your radio off.
Right, okay, hang on. Sorry.
I'm not cross with him. He's new to phone-in radio.
Right, okay, it's off.
What age are you?
14.
Good. Okay, how many electrical fields have you got in your bedroom? You say 4, I say 5.
2 lights, a computer, and a clock radio.
4.
Oh, and a radio.
5. Then 6.
Why?
Ah. You're missing one out. You're missing the most important.
Go on then.
Ah. Come on. What could it be?
I cannot see it, Tommy.
What room are you in at the moment?
I'm in my bedroom.
There are 6 electrical fields in your bedroom.
The phone. Hello?
But when you leave, there are only 5.
So it's the phone.
No.
Oh, it's myself.
Ah!
What?
You're an electrical field, pal.
Yeah, but I don't go do lally with myself.
Ah, well, first of all, we'll be the judge of that.
Fair enough.
Secondly, have you ever been in a car that's driven underneath power lines?
I have.
And the radio was on?
Yeah.
And what happens?
It turns off.
Electrical fields always disturb each other when they overlap.
Yeah, so I still can't see your point.
If the electrical field, which is emitted by, say, your computer program, is stronger than that emitted by you, when you're close enough to your computer program to receive the electrical field from it, it could disturb you.
How?
Well, but by
disturbing
the pattern of your personal field, Rob.
Yeah, I can sort of see your point.
Thank
but
you.
I still don't think you've got enough evidence to support it.
I don't need any evidence. We're back to where we started. You should pay more attention to the first thing that you asked.
Okay,
and
see
the
you,
question.
Tommy.
Yes, bye. Good try. It's a good try. But I think I'm still signed, sealed, and lock, stock, and barrel. Dave calls from South London. Dave, you're on Talk Radio. Hello.
Hello, Tommy. How are you? All right?
I'm very well. Thank you for asking.
Good. Was you aware that your clockwork radio works by electricity, Tommy?
Yes, but it has a much smaller field than an electrically driven radio.
It still creates an electrical field, though.
But a much smaller field, and this is what I think in years to come, the strength of the electrical field emitted by machinery will be stated on the packet so that we can make our own judgments about what we want in our house and what we don't.
Oh, right.
Yes.
I just thought you wasn't aware of the fact. That was all, really.
Oh, no. No. Well, I wasn't, but I thought I got out of that one pretty well, didn't I?
Yes, well done, Tommy.
Not at all. Are you listening on a mains radio, a battery radio, or a clockwork radio?
No, a mains radio.
Ah, well, you see, you've got a 240-volt field there, haven't you?
I have indeed.
Ah, well. What would you rather have your ear up against? Your precious brain, Dave? A 240-volt field or a clockwork field?
Well,
I
don't think voltage comes into it, Tommy, really, does it?
It does, because that's what's responsible for the strength and the size of the field. You know that.
Right, yeah.
Yes. Swine, isn't it?
That's right, Tommy.
Oh, well, there we go.
OK, Tommy.
I would have started. Dave in South London. Free call 0500 1053 89. Barry calls from the New Forest. You're on Talk Radio. Hello, Barry.
Hello, Tommy.
Barry.
How are you?
Well, I'm well, thank you for asking, I think. Physically, anyway, but mentally, who knows?
Well, likewise.
Yeah.
I saw a programme on TV
a documentary, a short 10-minute one, and the chap was a top physicist in the UK, and he didn't know what a radio wave was.
Really? That's probably why he had such a short programme. You know, if you know what you're talking about, they'll give you a series. They're that desperate.
I know.
But if you're a bit, a 9-bob note, then you'll just get 10 minutes. BBC Two, was it?
How did you know?
Because, Barry, I'm alert.
All right.
I know what's going on.
Yeah, so that was my point. But
do you ever watch Open University?
I try to.
The black and white?
Sorry, in black and white?
Yeah, the old programmes from the early 70s.
Oh, yeah, they're great, because, it's the sort of... The fashion's coming back, actually.
The dudes in their kipper ties.
Yes. Yeah, I try to catch them as often as I can.
The old single locked-off camera.
That's all right.
Yeah. Barry, thank you for your call.
Okay, bye.
Free call 0500 10 53 89. Does electricity and the fields which it generates cause madness in the electrical field which is your sanity, you see? I'm Tommy Boyd. This is Talk Radio. There's a good argument for listening.
Since the beginning of
The Tommy Boyd Show.
Get real with the people on the dance floor.
Talk Radio.
We call 0500 10 53 89.
We're just wondering whether it could be electricity that causes madness. Ron calls from Birmingham. Ron, you're on Talk Radio. Hi.
Hello there. I would like to extend perhaps the consideration a little bit from pure power signals that we've mainly been talking about into all electromagnetic signals. I'm really talking about radio signals, all the signals we get from the satellites, the weather signal, all the lot, and even, of course, the radio signals via your local radio thing.
Okay.
Now, what I was going to say was that the body actually acts as an aerial for all these electromagnetic signals. That's a matter of fact. There's no doubt about that. Now, they enter our nervous system, and that means to say that they will enter our brain. Now, the brain is known to function for two main things. The connections in the cells of the brain rely on two main things, one chemical, one electrical. And we all know that the effects of chemical interference, that's like alcohol and things of that nature, or drugs and that, we know what that does to the brain and how that upsets and disturbs our normal functions. Surely the probability is that we get similar disturbances by the electrical interference as well. The logic says such.
It does.
And the point is, the fact that there's no proof really is not an answer to that at all.
No.
And of course, we wouldn't know what effects to be looking for. But I mean, it could answer such problems as the way that violence is more prevalent these days.
Your thinking is watertight.
Oh, well, that's nice. And, Eddie, I think that really you can talk about other countries like you have been talking about where they're short of electricity. That's fine. But none of them, nowhere in the world at all, is short of the signals that come through the ether. That's all the radio signals and all the satellite signals and all of it. And they've been growing and growing and growing for the last few years. And maybe that is a form of electromagnetic poisoning.
People who are nearer to their inner selves than the likes of you and I, Ron, would swear by what you're saying, which is why, interestingly, both Druids and Satanists alike use ionizers in their bedrooms.
Yes.
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 Yep.
Yes. Yes.
It would be an interesting experiment to prove some of these things. I mean, you'd have to isolate people in electrostatic boxes and things to free them up. But, of course, most difficult, I think, to arrive at conclusions. But I think we must look at what is the probability.
The nutcases, Ron, are already doing that. They're isolating themselves in their little attic bedsits and surrounding themselves with television sets and stereo sets and microwaves, building, like I said before, a little cocoon of electrical field around themselves, and then out they go at night to do goodness knows what.
Yeah. I mean, most people know the physical effects of these electromagnetic waves. I mean, like microwaves and X-rays and those sort of frequencies. They know of the physical damages that these cause. But, of course, I haven't seen much written about what the other aspect, the finer things, of the more high frequencies affecting our brain. I haven't seen much about that.
I've got to go out on a limb here and remind you, Ron, of something that you've read from time to time, and you, good listener, as well, and that is that people who claim that they hear voices often say that they believe that the voices are coming out of electrical equipment.
Yes.
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 Yeah, that's right. Well, I wouldn't care to say that they weren't right.
Ron, it's been a delight talking to you, and I can't wait for your next call.
Thank you.
What a wise man. What a wise man. Howard calls now from Cumbria. Howard, you are on Talk Radio. Hello. Hello, Howard.
Good afternoon to you.
Sir.
Love your programme. Listen to you all day long when you're on. But listen to Talk Radio all the time. It's lovely.
Thank you for the background.
With regard to your radio waves that do not dissipate, I can demonstrate that in light terms.
Yeah?
If you look at a nebula, 4.5 light years away, well, that's light that you're seeing, of course.
Yes.
That long ago. It's still fresh, isn't it?
Yes.
So if you jumped there from the Earth, you could see Earth's history. If you have a telescope.
Howard, thank you. A sound point well made. Now, Mark has burst through onto the screen with this. Mark calls from Poole. You are on Talk Radio. Mark.
Thomas?
Yes.
I read somewhere in Russia that they were using a electrical device of some sort to emit radio waves to tranquilize psychiatric patients. I don't know if it was modulated at a specific something or other, that it would make people fall asleep or whatever.
How interesting. Do you have a dog?
I don't have a dog.
No. Do you wish you had a dog?
Not really.
You do.
No.
All young men wish they had a dog. Starts up conversation with people in the park.
I suppose so.
Fantastic. But also, if you have a dog, well, even if you don't have a dog, you will be aware that they say that the range of hearing which a dog possesses is broader than ours.
Yes.
They can hear higher-pitched sounds. You've heard that?
I have.
Seriously?
Yeah.
You're not just going along with me here?
No.
No?
Yeah, dog whistles.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, I've often wondered whether dogs can hear some sounds which we don't know as sounds because they have more acute hearing than we do. Because sometimes you'll be out with your dog and your dog will suddenly look in a certain direction, or even could be asleep on the hearth and suddenly their ears will twitch and they'll sit up, almost as though they've heard something. I'm just wondering if they're that much more sensitive than we are. You don't see lots of birds gathering on radio transmitters. No. Do you?
No.
No. And they gather everywhere else, don't they?
They do.
You even see the odd one on a pylon or two.
Yeah.
But not on a transmitter.
No. There's something about the transmitter that scares them away, perhaps.
Mark, I'm going to... thank you for your call. I'm going to squeeze Paul in Newcastle. Paul, you're on Talk Radio.
Hi, Tommy.
Paul.
Dogs.
Dogs?
Yes.
Yes?
Magnetic therapy. You can put them in a box, Tommy.
Yes?
Make their bones heal quicker, make their joints heal quicker, but also make them very tired.
Do they do this?
I do it.
What do you do?
This is definitely not Bob putting a funny voice on. Click like and subscribe to the Tommy Boyd Shrine YouTube channel, and we may get more Bob Staunton. Now, if you'll excuse me, I am going to stick laxatives in Tommy Boyd's coffee. If he won't call it quits, I'll make him strain with the squits.